Tonight I have a very special guest, Todd Vrcan with CarePatrol, talking about what it's like to experience when the kids become the parents. We, at some point in life, will all experience that. And you help with your company navigating that tool. And lots of times, it's really just starting with assisted living because the parents are at a certain age that, they maybe perhaps want to go to assisted living to be around other friends or, people their age, maybe their spouse died. So that's one level, that's a good level that we start with, correct, Todd?
That is correct. A lot of times when an individual is not ready or is unable to take care of themselves at home anymore, they're no longer safe at home and they need the socialization and somebody that's always in the community 24/7 to watch out for them.
Right. And that's a really fun balance, I think, too. Having a parent decide that they want to do the assisted living because oftentimes they don't because they feel like they're giving up their independence and their freedom. And they are. But they also need to be in a safe environment, correct?
Correct. None of our seniors really ever say, hey, I'm looking super forward to going to assisted living.
Right.
It's one of the choices that it's a family decision that helps, advise the family member that, hey, you're no longer safe at home, we're worried about you, we're concerned. Here's a better opportunity for you to socialize, get 3 great meals a day, and live more comfortably.
Right. And I think, too, Todd, I'm not familiar with it, but I think there's all these different levels, too, of assisted living where, perhaps some people have the means to pick whatever assisted living they would like to go in. They can go into one that is spectacular, almost like a Trump Tower. Or there's ones that, perhaps have no money and have to go into state-assisted living, correct?
Correct.
And so how do you, is there a fine balance? Tell me the ins and outs of that.
So when we talk with a family member, and it's usually the son or daughter that we're speaking with, we want to understand what's going on with mom and dad. What are their level of cares? What are their needs? What is the location they desire? Ultimately, too, is what is their budget? And we help guide the family and narrow down searches for the best fit for that family based on level of care, location, budget, and desires in a community.
Right. And I would say, too, a big fit would be going to the different assisted livings to see, which one the parent fit in better.
Absolutely.
Because, it's great to get them in assisted living, but you want them, it's something they probably, more than likely, they don't want to go to. But if they find they like it, that's an added bonus, correct?
Absolutely.
So finding the right one's important, correct?
And we encourage mom and dad coming along for the tour because this is their next stage in life, their next home. And it's important for them to realize that this isn't a nursing home.
Right.
It's an assisted living community, and it's so different. Our seniors think back to when their mom and dad were in a facility, and it was a nursing home.
Right.
Today, there's different components of assisted living, memory care, even independent living options.
So what are some words of advice? We're going to go into the different levels too, but what are some words of advice that you can give our viewers out there that are going through this at the very moment? They're at a wit's end. They don't really know what to do. Of course, we have your information to reach out to you, of course. So just give me 3 tips that you would give our viewers.
As they're going through that process, the first thing is just be prepared. This is natural and normal for a senior that as they age, they begin to fall, they have cognitive issues. It's difficult for that family member to accept the fact that, hey, I've got to do something to place mom into a safer environment. So it's really tough for them. Understand mom and dad's budget, their finances, what are their assets, because that's a huge portion of what's required for assisted living, because it is all private pay. And the next thing is having documents and everything in place, the power of attorneys, wills. Those are all the other things that are necessary that as we move through the process, make it smoother for the transition.
I'm going to say that is an excellent point because I'm going to say personally, even for myself, it's a very difficult and challenging conversation to have with a parent because you don't want the parent to think that you're challenging their funding or want their funding. You're really not. You're really in your mind thinking, how much money do they have to sustain this type of
Exactly.
living, and then what happens if they have to go to the next level, and the next level, because at some point you're going to have to kick in. So I would say it's a challenging conversation.
It's very challenging, and most people don't want to open up about that, but it's important to know what mom and dad's financial positions are, because you do want to make the best decision for them. You want their money to last as long as possible. If you choose a nice fancy community that is, significantly higher, those funds are going to run out quicker.
Exactly.
So maybe less fancy is better. And not everybody likes that big fancy community.
Right.
They feel more at home at a different, cozier atmosphere.
Because Todd, realistically, you might start in assisted living, but then have to advance very quickly to memory care, or exactly. There's so many
Yes.
different levels of it. Correct?
There is. Some individuals stay at home until they reach the point that they're cognitively have declined through Alzheimer's or dementia, and are no longer safe at home, where they're a wander risk and need a memory care unit that's secure. So mom and dad don't wander off and get lost, get hurt.
Right.
But yes, there's assisted living, there's memory care, and ultimately skilled nursing at some point, if it gets to the point where it's a medical necessity.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the set tonight, and I know you told a great story where your wife was involved in CarePatrol, and when
Yes.
you moved here, the franchise was available, and you really wanted to do this to give back to the community and really advise those people, because it is a very, very challenging point in life when we have to make those choices, and having someone that has been through it and knows how to navigate it and makes you feel comfortable with what you're doing for both parties is so important. So just give me if one line, a word of advice for our viewers out there, that you gave the tips, but one thing that can make them feel good about what they're doing in a resolution.
So just realize this is part of life. We all age. Have those conversations with mom and dad early on. Understand what their desires and wants are, and just be prepared for worst case scenarios. Hopefully, it's not necessary, and mom and dad can stay in their home
Right.
alone, safe forever.
Right.
But be prepared for those situations that arise, that they need a little extra help.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. It's
So
my pleasure.
what an amazing guest tonight, because at some point you already have or will experience that. And it's uncomfortable to have that conversation with your loved ones, your parents. But as Todd said, you need to know the funding. You need to know their wishes, more importantly. So what happens if something happens and you haven't talked to them about it, and then you have to make all the decisions? So it's really be aware, have the communication, and have someone that you trust guide you and navigate through the most difficult time of your parents' life, but then probably the happiest.